Allegations of sexual harassment inside the RCMP are not new. Catherine Galliford was the first to come forward.
If I had a dime for every time one of my bosses asked me to sit on his knee, I'd be on a yacht in the Bahamas right now.
Then came a massive class action lawsuit filed on behalf of 380 women working for the RCMP across Canada.
I've had days that I've been so depressed I just haven't wanted to get on with my day, to get out of bed.
The RCMP acknowledges there's an issue.
The problem is bigger than just simply the sexual harassment.
But allegations keep coming. Atoya Montague was a senior RCMP communications official for 13 years with high security clearance for major cases.
On a daily basis, a member more senior than my rank would be in my office trying to offer to have sex with me and turn around, Atoya, let me see your ass. Oh, your ass look really good in that shirt today. And oh, I can see them coming out. Or, oh, everyone's here, they've heard about the green shirt you're wearing.
Remember the taser death of Robert Jacansky? She was the communications strategist behind the scenes and played a big role in security for the Vancouver Olympics. Montague says through all of this, she was sexually harassed. She filed a lawsuit against the RCMP, but the allegations have been denied and nothing has been proven in court. The whole process has taken a toll. Montague left the RCMP on medical leave and says she suffered years of depression and PTSD.
Just this last year, there's been so much talk about sexual assault in all different kinds of spheres. Maybe something's changing.
What's changing is that I think people understand that they are strictly victims. They did nothing to invite this. They just wanted to go to work every day and do their jobs and not have to look at a boss's penis or take an invitation to have sex. You know, how many times did someone walk in my office and I'd say, okay, there's this major issue happening, here's what we're doing. Gee, Atoya, when are you gonna have sex with me? Like, right in the middle of a conversation about business. Really? Can you please not do that here? You know, and then you have to go, oh, haha, you know. Okay, back to the major issue at hand. You know, got a news conference downstairs, need an answer to this question. Oh yeah, you know, it was always, some of these men, I can tell you honestly, in the years that I worked with, never once did I have a conversation that did not turn to some sexual comment or innuendo or invitation. Never. There's probably 2 or 3 who every single time they came into my office or I had a meeting with them, there was some sexual context, there was some sexual mention. And you know, I believed all those years I'm strong enough and I'm dismissing this, whatever. But it did eat at me and it made me sick. And that's a really important message for women. Don't tolerate this, don't. Even if you're not feeling safe to complain, you can't, because it will erode your confidence, it will hurt you, it can cause you post-traumatic stress disorder. I didn't think that could happen to me. I'm a civilian member, I'm a civilian, but it can. Trauma is trauma. And if you let that stuff bury, it will eat you alive and make you very sick. So you have to put your foot down, you have to go complain, you have to remove yourself from those situations.
Why didn't you speak out at the time?
For fear of reprisal. I mean, again, you're constantly told as a civilian, you are second class here, you're lucky to have a job, kind of thing. That's sort of the insinuation.
But you were a fairly senior person.
I was. Well, in the 2 circumstances where I did complain, on the one hand, I was told by a boss, if you complain, your career will be over, you'll never be promoted again, and they'll say you couldn't hack it. And the second time I complained about something that was very egregious, career ending, egregious. It was so horrific that I still have nightmares about it. I was told, Atoya, if you take these guys on, they will eat you alive. They're much more senior. You don't stand a chance. I'm telling you, drop it.
Who told you that?
A senior officer, 2 or 3 levels above me.
So what did you say, or what were you thinking?
I was devastated. I was so traumatized. I mean,
so you launched your lawsuit, and basically the men that you accused said no, and even the justice officials said if you had a problem, you should have gone through the grievance procedure.
Yeah. Imagine, and even
though.
But
why didn't you?
Because the very people who would be signing off on the decision are the people who harassed me. So how do I stand a fair chance if the person I'm complaining about is the ultimate decision maker of that internal investigation? I don't stand a chance, clearly. I'm too vulnerable in there.
Well, they deny your allegations.
They do. Which, again, I find shocking because a lot of my allegations, they can prove in-house by opening a file cabinet, by going into electronic files. So you're telling the world that you're an elite, world-class investigative force, yet you can't open a filing cabinet and pull out HR files and say, what she's saying, is it true? And do some cross-comparison. A monkey could actually resolve this investigation. So
you're
I find it
accusing
shocking.
them of a cover-up.
It's that or incompetence. I don't know. They need to know a movement is forming. And the government of Canada should be aware of that. And women are getting stronger because we're coming together, we're supporting one another, we're getting our power back now, and we're not going to back down. I will see this right to the end.
A friend of yours says that you're a woman who she always thought was unbreakable.
Mm-hmm. Now you're making me cry. Yep. To be honest, those friends are the reason I'm able to do this, because I forgot I was that person. They literally did break me. I was the strongest person. I know that now, looking back. But I remember when I was first sick, talking to my friends that I worked with or knew here in Toronto before any of this happened. And they would look at me and say, I can hardly recognize you. You are the strongest person I know. It's really hard for me because, honestly, when the first time I heard that, I thought, who are you talking about? I was hardly recognizable to them, you know? And they're like, you lost your light and your spark. And people would say, I always looked up to you for my source of strength. And
You said
they would say that to me.
But you're saying now they did break you?
I was a broken person for a long time. I can't deny that. I mean, for a woman to sit in her apartment, cry her eyes out, day in, day out, for months, afraid to leave her apartment. I mean, I went from being a very social, outgoing, gregarious, international traveling, you know, I loved to dine out, I was fun, I was the life of the party. I went from being her to locked up at home, not wanting to leave my house, totally antisocial, not answering my phone.
This is before you launched your suit.
Yeah, well, and during.
So you haven't talked for a while. Why are you talking now?
I'm talking now for two reasons. The most important one is that I'm finally healthy enough to speak. When I first filed my lawsuit, I was still very ill. I was still in a stage where, you know, most of my days were spent crying. I lived with a lot of fear and anxiety. And I was still optimistic back then that maybe something would change. And I knew that they were doing a lot of committee meetings at the House of Commons and in the Senate, and they were hearing a lot of testimony, and I thought, well, surely the government is going to do something. They're hearing horrific stories over and over again from victims, both male and female, from across the country, and with a very consistent theme of abuse, harassment. I worked with them day in, day out. They know my character, they know my integrity, they know I'm an honest person. I'm top secret security cleared. I'm considered one of the most reliable persons in Canada. I have higher security clearance than most of my harassers, in fact. They're going to believe me. They're going to see this content, and they're going to do an adequate internal investigation and come to me and apologize and say, how can we make this right? I was literally still that illusioned. Now, a number of years have gone by, and since that time, I've heard from a number of women on the inside who have been abused, who have been harassed, who have tried to complain internally and been shut down or told their investigations were unsubstantiated because the bad guy simply denies it.
So what do you want to see happen to the RCMP?
Well, to be honest with you, Wendy, had they fixed this problem at the onset when all of this came to light, and they had actually taken really serious measures and implemented solutions that were working, and women were being treated differently and being promoted, and their complaints were being taken seriously, and the women who were off sick were back to work, and everything was kosher, I'd say, let it be. But because they have had a lot of time to fix it, and I don't think much has changed, I actually think it's maybe a problem that's too big and complicated to fix.
You don't think it's fixable?
I just think it's so widespread, it's such a big organization. And those cultures and attitudes and behaviors have been, you know, there for 130 years. It's going to be a long haul to fix. Part of me feels that maybe it's better off if it's broken down into a more manageable size organization. And then, yes, I think it's fixable.
Thanks so much for talking to me, Atoya.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.